Have you ever heard of a futurist? In times like now, where change is happening at a rate unlike anything we've ever experienced in human history, futurists are in high demand. And today, you're going to learn how to think like one. By the time we're done today, you're going to learn how to think like a futurist. Most people think of the future as a fixed thing that kind of lands on us at some point. That's wrong. By the time we're done today, you're going to learn how you can manipulate the future. By the end of this video, you're going to understand the type of thinking that has helped innumerable large corporations stay the course even through times of rapid change. You'll also leave being confident in your ability to be a strategic planner at work and home. Let's start off with the definition of a futurist. A futurist is someone who examines trends, data, emerging technologies, and they take that information together and analyze it to help organizations and other entities make strategic decisions moving forward. They help organizations prepare for the future. So one of the first ways that you can think more like a futurist is that futurists are comfortable with uncertainty. Now, is that something that you're comfortable with? Are you comfortable not knowing what's going to happen in a particular area of your life or an area of work? Most people aren't. But to be a good futurist, it requires some degree of comfort with ambiguity because that's where the future exists, reaching into that and molding it into something else. It also leaves you with an open enough mind where you can consider different possible realities and scenarios and plan against them. Most people plan for their expected future. And to be very clear, an expected future is not the same thing as a desired future. So some people expect their desired future. Those are the optimists, right? But pessimists actually expect an undesirable future, but they still plan for that because that is what they see coming to them, right? And so in this case, being uncomfortable with uncertainty means that you stick with whatever that prescribed expectation is. Well, as a futurist, you have to be very uncomfortable not knowing what's coming and considering the possibilities. Number two, futurists consider and even embrace alternative realities and alternative possibilities. So maybe you're expecting when you purchase your house for things to go great and you're not expecting to have any natural disasters. Okay, that's one option. But a futurist would start to think about things like flood insurance. And is there wildlife nearby that could pose a problem? Or are you in an earthquake zone? They would look at all the different possibilities that could happen. Do you have children that maybe one has a penchant for fire? I don't know. But a futurist considers all these other possibilities. And they might even consider the fact that this home that you were looking at purchasing to live in, maybe it's a better rental property. So again, it's just being open to the possibilities and considering different options. In your business, it's the same thing. You likely already have a very specific business model. But a futurist might think, okay, 5 years from now, based on where the world is going, what are some alternative business models that this business can leverage and morph into to survive and continue to stay alive? So again, we have to be able to embrace those alternative possibilities. Do you find it easy or difficult to imagine futures that you're not expecting? To better prepare for those alternatives, check out my video, How Can Scenario Planning Help Managers Predict the Future? The third way to think like a futurist is to observe trends and signals. Now, you've heard of the term trend. You're probably very familiar with that. Trends are basically behaviors or things that are popping up, and it's something of a pattern. So we're starting to see it pop up more and more. So that might be something that's in your industry where you start to notice an industry trend and you're trying to figure out how your organization should adapt to that. Or even in your personal life, you might see a trend and you think, is this something that I need to adopt into my own life? Now, at the same time, while we're familiar with trends, signals might be something that you're a little less familiar with. So signals are those little weak things that pop up that when we see them, we say, oh, this is interesting. You know, I remember in Sesame Street as a child, the song about one of these things is not like the other. It's kind of like that. So if you imagine a bowl of milk, all milk, if you see a single pepper flake floating in that milk, that's a signal. You're like, wait, that doesn't normally belong here. Where did that come from? And so you start to collect that information. So your question might be, how do you actually collect information? First, you want to identify sources. So maybe there's industry news sources, maybe there's sources for other industries that you tend to reflect. There's some industries that maybe they adopt something first and your industry tends to catch it right after them. So start to look at those. If you don't know where to look, retail's always a good one. Even if you have a B2B business, retail tends to be on the cutting edge of new technologies and trends. So following their periodicals or their news, using tools like Reddit to see what people are talking about there. You might also set Google alerts on particular topics so that, and if you're not familiar with a Google alert is a simple service by Google where you can follow words or terms that are mentioned online. Now, if you don't know how to set a Google alert, just Google alert and it'll take you right there. It takes you less than 30 seconds to set one, but you'll get alerts either as it happens once a day or once a week, and you get to specify so that you can see trends or signals that are happening in different places. So there's a lot of different places where you can gather information. You have additional places, maybe when you go to industry meetings, you're talking to people, but the most important thing is to collect that data somewhere. Now, if you're really old school and you like paper, I'm not here to judge you. We're gonna move you into the future eventually, but it's fine. Put it in a file folder. But on the other hand, you might use something like Evernote and have a notebook in there, or OneNote and have a notebook where all the little emails that you're getting, things you're seeing on websites, pictures that you're seeing that are signals that are saying something to you, you put them all in one place so that you can go through and review it when it's time for innovation in your organization. And the final way to think like a futurist is to navigate or help others navigate the future. So most of the time, as a futurist, those of us that do consulting, an organization doesn't just hire us to just do research and prescribe to them possible actions. We actually work with their organizations. And so to think like a futurist, you can already do this with your team. You get them together so that when you're looking at possible alternative scenarios or when you're trying to identify trends and signals, you're not doing it by yourself. You're actually doing it with your team. You might have a team activity where you talk about, let's name 5 places or 5 sources that we should look at as sources for trends. And then you all could start following them collectively. At the end, a futurist's goal is to help the team prepare for the future. So we're looking at all this data, we're analyzing it, we're saying, more than likely, these are the 2 to 3 places where it's likely to go in the future. This is where our organization is headed. This is what the environment's going to be like. How can we maintain our organization's life in any one of these systems, right? And so what you do is you come up with solutions that will help you in any of these different scenarios that you imagine. And that way, when it looks like it's starting to turn into that scenario, the organization already has a plan of action. So again, to think like a futurist, you're not a psychic. It's not falling on you to predict everything. You're actually facilitating with the team to help all of them take all the knowledge that they have about the organization, about the industry, about the world. And as they're thinking of things that they need to do to prepare for the future, you already have an idea of some possible solutions based on the information you've been collecting. Let's take this a step further so that you're really thinking like a futurist. I have a really cool free gift for you that will help you lead your team or yourself to where you want to go in the future. It is a Future Ready Playbook. Inside, you're going to find activities and worksheets that are going to help you better prepare for the future. To get your copy today, go in the description and click the link.